So good morning, everyone. Good morning, Queen City. My name is Frank Makritis. I am the co-founder and CEO of Tunnel. Moving money internationally today happens to be a difficult, expensive, and very long process for the most part. But it also happens to be one of the largest market opportunities today on the planet. Over $1.25 quadrillion moves globally every single year, with $2 trillion in revenue and 6% year-over-year growth. In the last year alone, there was over $100 billion in M&A. With Tunnel, what we've done is build a beautiful, elegant mobile application that interfaces to our proprietary distributed ledger global payments network that we built from the ground up. We have over 47 independent patent claims on our technology stack. And quite simply, what we allow you to do is send money to anyone, anywhere in the world, instantly across any currency with no transaction fees. Our go-to-market product, very simply, is a global Venmo. But with Venmo, you can only send money domestically, dollars to dollars. But with Tunnel, you can send dollars to euros, euros to sterling. And if you want, you can do dollars to dollars. Some of our recent accomplishments in the past year include closing our first round of financing with Boston Harbor Angels in December of 2018. We recently demonstrated for a top 10 international bank that our payments network can demonstrate that we can support global payments by processing more transactions per second than Visa. So we're going live in the United States at the end of this year, the end of 2018. And our ask today is we have a $1 million convertible note open for investment. If anyone actually wants to see Tunnel in the live, in the flesh, please come see me after. Thank you very much.
So, this one? No, that's not. There we go. No, that's okay. Good job, but just a little bit of a piece of feedback and then a question. It sounded to me like your pitch was a customer pitch, not an investor pitch. And that's okay, I guess, if that's what you want. Just making sure, because just think about the audience and the mindset. You're describing something that I want to use, but you're not necessarily describing how I'm going to make money. So my question to you is, just a point that it's important to know the audience, and if that's what you intended, that's great. But it sounded to me like more like a customer pitch rather than investor pitch, because I'm not sure exactly how you make money or how I'm going to make money if I invest. So that's my question to you. What is your business model if you charge no transaction fees? Is it about the currency exchange? I imagine that's where it has to be.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the opportunities. And we can talk offline and go into some of the specifics on our business model. That's one opportunity. When we work with our partner banks, there are funds on deposit. So the way we've designed our network is we partner with banks. The banks make a tremendous opportunity off us on the FX side, on the transaction side. So when we say there are no transaction fees, there are obviously FX opportunities for us and many others. So you hit the nail on the head. So there's a major revenue opportunity. So we see our product as three stakeholders, or our company. One being the customer, one being our bank partners, and the other one being the network. All three stakeholders have to benefit. Obviously, the customer opportunity, like you alluded to, is obvious. The network, Tunnel the network, makes revenue off, like you said, off the foreign exchange. We also have a linked debit card to the digital wallet that we can profit from, and our bank partners can profit from. Then all the funds flow that go through our system sit in the accounts with our bank partners, and there's major opportunities there as well. So it's a huge win for all stakeholders in the process.
So as an investor, I still like to understand, especially in an elevator pitch, sort of to try to quantify the win. So can you give me an example? Let's say, for example, that I am sending money to South America. I send $1,000.
Yes.
Do I pay you $1,000? Do I give you $1,000? Can you give me an example of the money flow from me to the person receiving the money?
Yes.
And let's say I send dollars and I want them to receive pesos or soles or whatever it is that the local currency is.
So I'll give you the customer experience and also the investment opportunity, kind of try to roll that all into one. So it's as simple as you would have funds in the Tunnel digital wallet. The other participant in the other part of the world would have a Tunnel app with a Tunnel digital wallet. You would simply find your contact in there, you would select their information, and you would select the amount of money you want to send either in their domestic currency or their local currency. And there's a real-time API call for the FX, and you lock that in per transaction. As soon as you close the transaction, the funds leave the digital wallet, and they receive those funds instantly at the other end at their account. That's really the magic of our DLT, High Performance Payments Network. That's really where the magic comes in. If they want instant access to that liquidity, we link a debit card, they can take that debit card, go to ATM, they can spend it online, or if they decide to, they can just send it to their bank account. Now the reason why we can do that is this is a debited based system, so the funds are already preloaded into the digital wallet. The funds are already sitting in our partner's bank account. So when you see a balance in our system, that we kind of cheat a little bit, so the money's already there. And then using our DLT and our proprietary technology, we allow the funds flow from one bank to the other bank anywhere in the world.
Sorry. I guess I didn't get an answer to my question. Maybe I didn't ask it all right. I was just trying to understand the specifics on the numbers, on the figures, not the technical piece, but I have $1,000 in the account. I hit push, and then the person receiving the money receives 1,000 or the equivalent.
Absolutely, one-to-one.
So who's making any money then?
So because we built our own payments rails, so think today, if you're doing international money transfers, there's a couple major options you have. Actually, I was talking to a gentleman earlier about that. So today, let's say you use someone like, there's about 24 of these players. All these companies are worth billions of dollars. So you can look at TransferWise, Remedy, you can look at RIA, you can look at XE and all these networks. For the most part, these networks are reliant on two networks. They're either relying on the SWIFT International Wire Network, where things can take some time, but they have a little bit lower fees, but the time is longer. So you have to pay the tax and everything to run on the SWIFT network. The other lever they can pull is you can run over the credit rails. So you can run over VisaNet, for example. So if you look at PayPal, PayPal offers two products. You can either do traditional PayPal, which runs over the SWIFT network, or if you want to go really fast, you can use their product called Zoom. So you can move money quickly, but you're paying higher fees and higher costs on the transactions. Our differentiator from them is we're not driving transactions on these two existing payments networks. Our major differentiator, and because we can compete with them on cost, speed, and performance, is we built our own highway. I don't have to pay through the toll booths or run on their roads to make a transaction internationally. That's the major differentiator that we bring to the table. We're bringing a global payment set of rails that hasn't been on the marketplace for the last 40 to 60 years. What we're bringing is really disruptive, really revolutionary. So that allows us to give the performance, speed, and cost compared to our competitors.
Well, 2 minutes is hard to pitch a concept like this, so I think you did a good job. So for me, I'd say start with the good, right? So I think you did a good job of at least getting me interested from a market size perspective. Although the one thing I'll say, so I guess maybe I'll pivot to one, was you threw out a couple of different numbers, 1.25 quadrillion, X number billion, M&A numbers, right? And it felt like a bunch of just numbers that I couldn't contextualize, right, within the context of your business. So I think it set me up to say, wow, there's a lot of money moving around and I'm interested, but I couldn't contextualize the three numbers. So maybe it's one number and give me better context in that. I do think it was good that you talked a little bit about the patents. You give me some sense that there's a technical moat or some sort of competitive advantage that you can take advantage of. And I like the fact that you're both funded already and you had a specific ask, right? So within 2 minutes, that's really good. For me, I always have this, I guess one of the big things I always want to hear out of someone who's pitching me is why? Why are you doing this? Like, why are you personally doing this? Is this a passion project? Do you have some exceptional conviction about why this needs to exist? Do you possess some exceptional expertise that someone else doesn't have. That to me is like number one every time that I want to hear someone say, I have exceptional conviction, I'm the right person to do it. So a little bit more on that particular side. And I agree, I didn't quite understand the business model, but I think that's okay. 2 minutes, my guess is any distributed ledger technology is going to be too complicated for that. And I think those are kind of the big things for me is the why. Why are you doing it? Why is now the time for it? And then kind of the last piece is you have this technical moat. If somehow you can summarize what that means in a very easy way for me to comprehend the difference between the incumbents today so that I can go, wow, that does sound exponentially better. I want to dig in a little bit more. I think those are kind of the two areas I'd want to hear.
Great. Thank you for that feedback. And just to add to that, so what drives us, so first off, I've been involved in the distributed ledger technology space since 2012. We've been heavily, our team that came together organically has been heavily involved in the MIT Harvard ecosystems back in Boston, Massachusetts, and a lot of our core members and advisors come from there. And from that, organically, I helped co-found the Boston Blockchain Association. And the real passion and driver came about where interacting with a lot of the people in that community, we have a lot of international students, we have a lot of international people on our team, whether they experience it or their immediate parents experience the challenges of trying to send money back home, coming here as an immigrant, working hard, and remembering through the .com phases when I saw email for the first time. And I was like, I can send this information to anyone, anywhere in the world instantly at no cost. I was like, that's amazing. And we're like, money is digital. We really need to enable that today. We need this. This is our time. This is the revolution. The technology is there. The team is there. The passion is there, where we can go solve this major world problem. And there's a huge opportunity today internationally for people to take advantage of this. So there is a strong passion for the technology. There is a real strong passion drive for the need. And that's what motivates us on a daily basis. Obviously, there's a huge financial benefit, but this is really going to help a lot of people around the world. So we're really excited for that.
So I'd just say, if you told me that story to begin with, that you have this, 7 years of experience working on distributed ledgers, you're the chair of the Boston Distributed Ledgers, all that kind of stuff, and this is how you came to this problem. You put together a team, and now you have 47 patents to go after a $1.2 quadrillion market. That's probably the 4 things that I'd want to hear that would get me to buy you a cup of coffee.
Just to piggyback on the point that Chris was making on the market, I think you did a good job of setting the stake and showing us it's a big market, especially if you don't really necessarily are an expert on this space. But I think also, like he was pointing out, I think it's a double-edged sword to talk about a big market, because it also, not only does it say, hey, there's a big opportunity, but also reminds you that there's a lot of competitors probably already there. So it's not always best to try to sort of describe, I think, in my opinion, the biggest number that one can come up with. But sometimes it's better to narrow that total market into one that is much more significant, and it sort of implies the value of that piece of that market that you're going to be able to take on, the opportunity that it represents to you. Because in the end, that's what an investor is really after. It's not necessarily just playing in a huge space, but understanding what part of that space is really going to be one that I can own. And so if you can contextualize that a bit, I think you will have a more effective pitch as well.
This is really good feedback. Thank you so much.
Anybody from the audience have any points or questions that they would like to make?
Like what you just said, you can talk about your story. Right? You have lots of students, parents. If you're narrowing down a specific market, you can start off with, hey, I'm owning a space, working with colleges and institutions to help parents send money back to help international students. Well, obviously, there's a much larger market.
Correct.
That's a great point. I think this is what I was trying to, I guess, get at in some way when it comes to the case. A very useful way to do a 2-minute elevator pitch is to tell the story with a user, a use case, who's the customer, who's the user, to describe it. I'm sending money to someone here. Maybe you're an immigrant, you're sending money to the country of origin where you came from. And not only does that help tell the human story, but also allows you opportunities to describe the technicalities, which I think can be too dry when sometimes they just describe in isolation of that human aspect.
That's great. It's great feedback. And if anyone actually wants to see it in the flesh, actually wants to see it running, and actually wants to see the execution of those transactions, I have the app here today on the phone, and I can actually demonstrate for you to take a look at. So, any other questions? Is that it?
I think that's about time. So tunnel money, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much. It's great. Thanks.